Released October 5, 2010, Castlevania Lords of Shadow is an action-adventure video game developed by Mercury Stream and Kojima Productions. The game was intended as a reboot to the Castlevania franchise, and it takes place in Europe during the Middle Ages. Even though there's, like, mystical temples and shit, but just don't question it for now. But this time, the story focuses on Gabriel Belmont, on his quest to defeat not Dracula, but the almost demigod-like creatures known as the Lords of Shadow. I originally bought and played this game about a year ago, and I absolutely loved it. I played it religiously. On my first playthrough, I had a blast playing through the main story of the game, just fighting enemies, killing bosses, piecing together the story of the game, and traversing the landscapes of this very historically inaccurate medieval Europe, while the absolutely beautiful soundtrack played. It gives me a lot of Lord of the Rings vibes. And once I'd beaten it for the first time, it was cemented in my mind as one of my all-time favorite games. It became almost an instant classic for me. And yes, the game definitely has its flaws. A lot of them, in fact. Mainly being the filler sections, the fact that the game doesn't really do anything new, and the fixed cinematic camera. While the cinematic camera does give you some really cool shots, it can also really piss me right the fuck off. Like when I walk through somewhere and the camera changes from being behind me to in front of me, and then I let go of the movement key and accidentally walk backwards. That's probably my biggest pet peeve about the game. I just don't like the camera. But despite all the flaws, this is still one of my favorite games. And I decided, because my boy likes some rice, go subscribe to him, suggested it to me, that I would replay this game for Halloween, so I could make a Halloween special video. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about my experience replaying the original 12 chapters of the Castlevania Lords of Shadow main storyline. And for anyone asking, yes, I have used this game as footage in a lot of my videos. Please stop asking me what game it is. Now, because this game's main story is divided into 12 chapters, I'm splitting this video into 12 chapters. Also, major spoilers ahead. I feel like that should kind of be a given, but yeah, spoilers. Chapter 1. The game starts off with a narration by Patrick Stewart as he introduces you to the world of the game, one that God has seemingly abandoned, and where evil thrives unchecked. The game puts you in control of Gabriel Belmont, and starts with you entering a village that is being attacked by a horde of monsters. Here is where the game introduces you to all the basic mechanics of combat, being direct attacks, which is basically just where you use the whip to attack one enemy, area attacks, which creates an AoE attack that you can use for crowd control, and jumping. It's exactly what it sounds like. After defeating the first round of werewolves, the game then introduces you to health fonts, which restore all your health when interacted with. And then more combat mechanics, such as item drops, which is where enemies will drop items like daggers that you can use to kill them. Also how to use item drops, and how to grab enemies and create quick time events to insta-kill them. And also experience points, and how to purchase skills from your journal. The first one I purchased was called Guillotine, which is where you hold the direct attack button while airborne, causing you to throw a powerful direct attack where you smash down your whip on the enemy in front of you. It's really cool. Once you kill more enemies, you then get to fight the first boss of the game, the Warg. This is where you're introduced to blocking, something that I will go on to not use in place of its much safer alternative, dodging, used to avoid unblockable attacks, or parrying, which is introduced in the next level. After getting the Warg to low health, you then kill it in a quicktime event, impaling it on this wooden spike. I feel like there's some symbolism here. By the way, get used to this, because this is how you're gonna kill literally every boss from now on. Anyway, after that, you then get this scene where Gabriel introduces himself to the villagers and states his mission.
I am Gabriel. I have traveled here seeking the Guardian of the Lake.
You are from the Order?
How do I find him?
He will find you. In the forest.
And just like that, the first level is over. And now you get introduced to the game's level select system, which is basically a map where every major area is divided into chapters. So level 2 begins with another narration by Patrick Stewart.
What motivates a man to confront the challenges that most of us would run from? Condemning him to solitude, exposing him to defeat and death. The answer is love, a force so powerful that all reason becomes blind to it, blind to all things, even the truth.
After a vision of a woman trying to reach out to you with her hands, and then being decapitated by some mysterious figure, you then wake up. And then a magical horse shows up, sent by the Guardian of the Lake, and offers to take you to him. And then after that, you get this level with you fighting enemies on horseback, which is actually kind of fun, although it probably wasn't a good idea to make this the second level of the game, since this is the only level like this, and, you know, the first level should be spent trying to just strengthen the core mechanics. But you do get knocked off the horse a few times, and have to fight enemies on foot, which this is where the game also introduces you to parrying, where if you block the enemy's attack right as it hits, you can throw a few attacks back, which is actually pretty cool, and also becomes a lot more useful later in the game. After you complete this level, there's a scene of Gabriel just walking with a map background, and then you get to enter the Dead Bog, which is by far the best level of the first chapter. It's the first level where you actually get to somewhat engage with the game's climbing and platforming mechanics, which will become a lot more complicated later on in the game. This is also where I found my first life medallion gem, which when collected restores all your health. And if you collect 5 of them, it upgrades your max health. In this level there are also goblins that throw bombs at you, but you can pick up the bombs off the ground and throw them back at the goblins. Anyway, after knocking this loser into the bog, you then find out why they call it the Dead Bog. Because, you know, it fucking drowns you. With skeletal hands. Now, I tried to avoid being in the bog as much as possible, but the way you actually cross the bog is by avoiding the bits that are bubbling. Because then they'll fucking drown you. Now, I'd love to show you footage of me getting drowned, but I didn't get drowned once, because I'm just too good at the game. Anyway, later on in the level, you come across this little church temple area that, when you place your whip in the slot, upgrades it and gives your whip a hook, which basically just lets you use your whip as a grappling hook, which is kinda neat, and is also really fun to use when platforming. Anyway, you then have to fight this giant troll guy, who's pretty easy, you kill him. And then after you kill him, you then receive the ability to carry 5 more daggers. Now meaning you can carry 10 daggers. Although, joke's on this game, I hadn't used any of my daggers. Anyway, after this really fun platforming segment, you then enter the Temple of the Guardian of the Lake. And you have to solve a puzzle that I can't really show you because there's a naked fairy on the screen when you're solving it. Kinda not worth me getting an age restriction and losing the potential $10 I could make from this video, so after solving the puzzle, you then get to meet Pan, the Guardian of the Lake, who's also a pagan god, who is for some reason in a game about Christianity, but I don't know, don't question it. Pan and Gabriel introduce themselves to each other, and then have a conversation about what's happening in the world.
We have been deserted by God.
It is also here that Gabriel puts forth a theory that the Order have about the world being separated from God.
And what of the elders of your order? What do they think?
That God has not abandoned us. They believe that a powerful spell has been unleashed by someone or something. A spell that has isolated our world from the heavens, cutting us off from God, and allowing evil to flourish unchecked.
It is here that Gabriel also partially reveals his motivation to Pan.
My wife, Marie, was murdered not 2 days ago by the evil that roams these lands. Her soul and those of the recently departed are trapped.
And that is why they sent you to the Lake of Oblivion, because they believe that she is waiting for you here to deliver a message to you.
Pan then opens up a vision for you, where you see Marie in the center of these 3 rings with a pendulum above her. Upon the rings are 3 pieces of a bridge. Once you line up the rings correctly, the full bridge is formed, allowing you to reach Marie. It is here that Marie awakes to see you, and gives you a big hug. Then you stab her with one of your daggers. And your face is revealed, showing you wearing a strange mask. And then the vision is over, and Pan lets you pass through to the Lake of Oblivion.
Make sure you have your daggers with you. One never knows when need may arise.
Honestly, that line kinda gave me chills. While walking over the frozen Lake of Oblivion, it is here that you encounter the Ice Titan, who comes out from underneath the ice to attack you. Now, because you can't actually damage the Ice Titan directly with your whip, what you're actually meant to do is wait for the Ice Titan to punch into the ground and get its hand stuck into the ice. Then you have to climb up its hand and destroy all the magical seals on its body, which there's about 4 of them. However, the Ice Titan is going to try and shake you off, so, you know, don't fall off, otherwise you have to wait for it to punch again. And that can be really annoying to wait for if it spams this bullshit ice attack. Like, what the fuck? It did this to me like 10 times. I swear to fucking God. Anyways, you're about to destroy the seal on the Titan's ear. The Titan knocks you off of it in a cutscene and back onto the ground. Then it goes to grab you, but you're saved by another warrior in a similar outfit to you, voiced by Patrick Stewart, who asks for one of your daggers and uses it to destroy the last seal. You know, I kinda wish Patrick Stewart could have just done this entire fight for me. After the Titan dies, you then see another vision of Marie, who tells you that you must take the power of the Lords of Shadow to fulfill the prophecy, and then she disappears. The other warrior then introduces himself to you, voiced by Patrick Stewart, as Zobek, another warrior of the Brotherhood and an acquaintance of Pan. Zobek then explains that the founders of the Order are using spirits of the dead to communicate with he and Gabriel to tell them the prophecy of
Pure-hearted warrior will claim the power of the Lords of Shadow as his own, and use it in order to overcome all evil. It is said this warrior will become God's vassal on Earth.
Basically, you are supposed to just become God's favorite.
I'm one of God's favorites.
You and Zobek then agree to help each other defeat each of the Lords of Shadow, but you also must take different paths to avoid suspicion. It's decided that you will go to the Land of the Lycans, and then Zobek will meet you in the Land of the Vampires, and then you will both go to the Land of the Necromancers together. Zobek then gives you a medallion, and the two of you set off, and with that ends Chapter 1. Fuck me, that was long. Just like my dick. Entering Chapter 2, the game wastes very little time in introducing you to the Light Magic Medallion, which was given to you by Zobek, voiced by Patrick Stewart. When you kill enemies, they drop neutral elemental orbs, which you can absorb with the medallion to turn into light energy. You can then activate the Light Magic Medallion and glow blue, and while glowing, you heal when you deal damage to enemies, but it drains your light magic energy when you use it, so you can't use it forever. Enemies also don't drop orbs if you kill them while you are using magic. This level is also where you obtain the focus scroll, which introduces combat focus, which adds this little bar to the bottom of the screen that you fill up by hitting enemies. And when you fill up the bar fully, enemies will drop neutral elemental orbs as you hit them. However, you have to be careful because if you get hit, it'll break your focus. However, one neat thing this does is it makes parrying 10 times more useful, as once you parry and hit the enemy back, you'll have filled up like 75% of the bar, which is really good if you desperately need elemental orbs and manage to land a parry. In the next level, you enter a spider's cave where, well, spoiler alert, you have to fight some giant spiders. And one thing to remember when fighting these little bastards, well, big bastards, is never to attack them when they're blocking. They'll always retaliate with an unblockable attack. And if you get hit by that attack, you get poisoned, which means you either have to wait for the poison effect to go away, or you have to activate your light magic, which drains part of it. Which becomes really fucky if you don't really have any light magic, and have to wait for it to go away while it drains your health, and then you just die in one hit anyway. This level is also where you obtain the next upgrade for your whip, which adds little spikes to the chain of your whip, which lets you do weird shit, like somehow saw these cylindrical rocks in half. I don't know how the fuck that would work, but just don't question it. In the next level, you then learn the other applications of the spikes. Animal abuse. Mainly being able to mount large hostile enemies against their will, and using them to destroy things. So anyway, this is my new pet. I call him Wargy. The animal abuse is made even funnier by the fact that the only way to dismount a creature is to strangle it with the chain of your whip. Fuck me, Peter's gonna be on my ass for this one. As you reach the final room of this level, you find that you can't open the door to the next level in front of you, as these little goblin motherfuckers have stolen the lever. So you have to kill them, and then a bugbear shows up and turns one of the goblins into a suicide bomber. You know, there's a few jokes I want to make here, but I kinda don't want to get cancelled. You kill the bugbear, and then you get to finally use the lever. But surprise, surprise, the door breaks, and you're back underground. Fuck! After a bit of progression, it's here that you obtain the Shadow Magic Medallion, which is basically the opposite of the Light Magic Medallion, as it functions almost the same as the Light Magic Medallion, being that you absorb neutral elemental orbs to create shadow energy, but it increases attack power instead of healing you. In the next level, as you're climbing out of the cave, it is here that you are introduced to this blonde chick who shows up with a special crystal that summons a fucking demon to kill a troll. And I can't show you much of it, because demon titties. She then runs away and signals for you to follow her. So you have to do exactly that, but you can't climb up the temple, because you aren't cool enough. So it's here that I tamed my new pet warg, who I'm gonna call Jimmy. Me and Jimmy are gonna be best friends forever. So after Jimmy and I climbed up the temple wall, I realized that I had to go underground again, and I couldn't take Jimmy with me. I'm sorry, Jimmy. Anyway, after going underground, you encounter a large Black Knight golem, which the chick that you're following stops from killing you, as it says. She then talks to you telepathically and tells you she can read minds.
How can I hear your voice?
I'm not moving my lips. I have the gift. I can also read minds. My name is Claudia, and he is my protector.
Claudia then reads Gabriel's thoughts, and is visibly disturbed by them once she does.
No!
What is it? What's wrong?
And then she agrees to help you and takes you to this weird ruined city where you have to collect 4 crystal shards, which is basically what you do for this entire level. And it's here that you unlock the Dark Crystal skill, which basically just lets you summon a giant demon that insta-kills everything around you. Anyway, now it's time for the next boss, the Titan. Now this boss fight is just straight pain. So in order to actually climb up the Titan, you have to grab one of the telepathic rocks that it throws at you, and use your whip to throw the rock back at the Titan. However, this was a lot harder for me to do than it sounds, because I'm on fucking keyboard and mouse, and I'm too stubborn to use a controller. So I spent about 12 minutes just trying to throw rocks at the Titan. And even when I finally got onto it, I got knocked off again. Well, back to square one. What I did like about this fight, though, is that in the second phase of the fight, Claudia distracts the Titan by just insulting it.
Down here, you bitch!
Anyway, at the end of this fight, you destroy the Titan by taking one of the dark crystals and just stabbing it into the Titan's hat. And so now you get to rest. Until Gabriel wakes up and decides to walk over to where Claudia is resting and begins to caress her face, and she looks you in the eye.
I knew the first time I touched your face. I have seen my fate. I am ready.
Now I clearly got the wrong idea of what was about to happen here, because Gabriel fucking stabs her! And then Gabriel wakes up. It's all a dream. And then Pan appears to tell him that he needs to take the gauntlet from the Black Knight. However, Gabriel refuses as he doesn't want to harm Claudia or the Black Knight. However, it turns out it's too late, as Gabriel's dream, surprise surprise, wasn't actually a dream. And so the Black Knight attacks Gabriel. And now you have to fight the Black Knight as a boss. Which, the Black Knight boss fight is actually a lot of fun. One of the cool things the boss fight does is keep you on your toes, as later in the fight, he'll summon these little black gooey things that crawl across the ground that you're not supposed to let touch you. Otherwise, the Black Knight can basically get a free hit in. But eventually, after stripping away the Black Knight's armor, you manage to kill it and take the gauntlet from it, which launches at you and violently fuses itself to your arm. And then the chapter ends with you burying Claudia and continuing on your quest. Chapter 3. Fuck me, there's still 10 of these. However, luckily for the very short time frame that I have to make this video, Chapter 3 is really short. The first level of Chapter 3 just introduces you to how to use the gauntlet, which is useful for pushing large objects around. It's also where you unlock the fairy skill, which is basically just where you summon fairies to distract enemies. And then after that, you finally get to meet the first of the Lords of Shadow, Cornell, the Lord of the Lycans. You and Cornell then engage in a nice friendly conversation, and Cornell tells you about how the Brotherhood of Light was founded, which is that 3 warriors who were devoted to God formed the Brotherhood in order to serve God, and then after decades of fighting, found 3 places where they could ascend into basically godhood, becoming second only to God. However, in ascending into godhood, they also left behind their bodies, which became the 3 Lords of Shadow. Cornell then explains that if you were to kill him and reclaim his power, then it would also kill his other half in heaven, which Gabriel's kinda just like, yeah, I kinda don't care. And then you get to fight Cornell. Now the fight starts off fairly easy as you're just fighting Cornell with a hammer. However, in the second phase of the fight, Cornell lodges his hammer into the ground and then transforms into a giant werewolf, which this is where the fight gets fucking difficult. Not only are like half of Cornell's attacks here unblockable, but the man hits like a tank. And then about 3/4 through the fight, he becomes invincible, and you've got to destroy all the pillars in the arena. Which is difficult when you still have Cornell on your ass, and just have to try and avoid him whilst damaging the pillars. However, after destroying the pillars, you then get a quicktime event, where you hit Cornell with his own hammer until it breaks, and then stab him through the mouth with the handle of it. I mean, not only was the man killed with his own weapon, but his own weapon fucking broke while it was being used to kill him. Like, that's gotta hurt. Both physically and emotionally. Anyway, you then get to take Cornell's Air Jordans, which violently fuse themselves to your feet, and they also let you sprint, which is pretty cool. After that, you then receive 1/3 of the God Mask. Now you just need the other 2/3. It's also here that you meet Pan in the form of a bird, and then you fly on Pan's back. And that is the end of Chapter 3. Chapter 4. Now it's time for the first filler chapter, where Pan tells you that you have to go on this mission to kill the Crow Witch, as they're stopping you from entering the land of the vampires. Funnily enough, this doesn't really do anything for the plot other than really stretch out the game. And so you enter the domain of the Crow Witch, which, despite being filler, is actually a lot of fun to play through. I very much enjoy this section of the game. This is also where you learn that with the power of shadow magic, you can use Cornell's Air Jordans to smash through doors. Just do it. Oh, wait, that's fucking Nike. After some really nice shots and some platforming, you fight some little trolls. And then, fee-fi-fo-fum, you're now fee-fi-fo-fucked. Because now you've got to fight a giant, which you kill by whipping out both of their eyes, and then using your whip to pull them by the tongue so that they stab their neck on this sharp rock, while they are blinded. Later on as you progress, you encounter this little fucker who zaps you and takes away all your relics and items. And then you've got to spend like 3 minutes trying to find him so that you can shake him. You know, I'm kinda upset that I didn't just fucking murder his ass. Like, he should've went out the way that fucking giant went out. Seriously, fuck this guy. In the next level, you then get to climb the Crow Witch's tower. You fight a bunch of these cloth sword motherfuckers, and then you get to fight the Crow Witch. And I really like this fight. Now, not because the actual fight itself is good, but because you get to kill it by throwing the eggs of its unborn children at it. However, if any of them land, what happens is Los Pollos Hermanos shows up and tries to kick your ass. Anyway, you then kill the Crow Witch by ripping off its fucking face. And then, in true Castlevania fashion, the Crow Witch's castle begins to crumble. And Pan decides that it's a good idea to show up as a horse. You know, not an eagle, which could much more easily avoid this. And that's the end of Chapter 4. Chapter V. Chapter 5 begins with you arriving in the outskirts of the land of the vampires. Now you don't get very far before this little shit shows up again and steals your items. Again! Seriously, fuck this guy, I hate him. I hope he wins the lottery and dies the next day. Piece of shit. You know, the worst part about this was that you have to use a fairy to distract him, and I kept fucking up this jump. Basically meaning I was just wasting fairies, and then I had to run around the map to find another one. Like, seriously, fuck this guy. I hope he falls head first and gets his neck cracked. Anyway, after shaking this little fucker and unfortunately not ripping his face off like you did to the Crow Witch, you then get to progress a little further and get this really cool landscape shot of a giant castle. And then it's the next level. The next level then has you enter the village of Weigel, where you finally meet up with my man Zobek, voiced by Patrick Stewart. Zobek states that the vampires are expecting them and have slaughtered the village's defenses. He also states that the abbot of the village has an ancient relic that can harness the power of the sun, which is capable of burning vampires. But the abbot has barricaded himself in the abbey and filled it with traps to stop people from entering. And apparently he's been there for years. And then after this, you get to hang out with Zobek for a few levels. And fight some ghouls together. After plugging all the sinkholes in the graveyard, you then receive the next upgrade for your whip, being the stake, which lets you open doors that use these scrolly wheel things. And it also lets you stake vampires, which becomes very useful as the next level starts. Anyway, after killing some vampires with Zobek and solving a few puzzles, I feel like this one still should have killed us. You're then separated from Zobek in this library area, and now have to fight not one, but two of these animated armor dickheads. This should be fucking illegal. Anyway, once you reach the top of the abbey, you meet up with Zobek, and you find the abbot and take his holy water. Yes, that's the relic that harnesses the power of the sun. Holy water. As you're leaving, this child shows up and tells you that vampires are invading his village, and that they want to fight you. So of course, you enter the village, fight some vampires, and then you get to fight Brauner, this much larger vampire. Which, this fight is actually pretty easy, not gonna lie. You also rip off his wings, and then use his own sword to cut off his arm, cut through his head, and then stake him. The level then ends with you departing the village, and this guy leading you to the castle sewers. This level is also where you first encounter skeletons, which on my first playthrough I thought would be easy. Except they fucking resurrect themselves, and there's 3! Anyway, after this fight, you solve this puzzle, and then you get to move on to Chapter 6. Chapter 6 begins with you entering the castle's walls, and trying to get inside the actual castle. But then realizing, oh shit, I need a key. And then you get attacked by these metal guys, who I fucking hate. Then you have to open a hole in the ground, fight 3 skeletons and a warg, and then go through this maze. And then solve this puzzle so that you can get the castle key, which opens the door to the castle and lets you progress to the next level. While you're inside the castle, it's still daytime, and so there's sunlight shining through the windows, and there's holes in the ground that vampires crawl out of. Now what you're supposed to do here is open up the curtains so that the sunlight shines into the holes, which prevents more vampires from climbing out, which I actually thought was really neat level design. I like this a lot. On top of that, after you complete the puzzle here, to open the big door, it becomes nighttime, and now you have to fight hordes of vampires while waiting for the door to open. And then after you pass through the door, this child vampire shows up and reveals to us that the Lord of the Vampires is a woman, you know, not Dracula, and challenges us to vampire chess? I don't know what it is, but once you win, you complete the level. And then in the next level, you see a dining area where a fat butcher man feeds a bunch of ghouls human corpses. Ring the bell, crawl through these things, and then you get to fight the fat butcher man and kill him. Then you take this key, fight a few enemies, solve a puzzle, and then on to Chapter 7. Chapter 7 begins with you scaling the castle balconies, playing this fucking pinball game, and then finding Frankenstein's lab. A reminder that Frankenstein is the doctor, by the way, not the monster. Although if you've actually read the story, you'd probably also know that he is also the monster. To navigate Frankenstein's lab, you gotta go around pushing these buttons which activate and deactivate these Teslas. Which, not gonna lie, I really just hate these puzzles. I don't know why, I can't really explain it to you, I just don't like them. It's just that. Anyway, during the third puzzle, you get to meet this weird baby thing that has a scorpion mech suit, and you have to fight it. Now this fight is really fucking easy, mainly because it just telegraphs all its attacks. Like, there is way too much time for me to react to all of these attacks. When you get it to low health though, it'll start absorbing electricity to try and heal itself. But good thing you can hit this button and overload it, which is how you end up killing it and then obtaining the red lens, which lets you move on to the next level. But plot twist, this motherfucker is still alive. Then we enter, by far one of my favorite levels in the entire game. So in this level there's this telescope device. There's 5 doors with colors above them, red, yellow, green, white, and purple on the last. And 2 suits of armor with colors above them, aqua blue and blue. Now you use the red lens you got from the last level on the telescope to open the red door. Inside you fight some enemies, solve this dashing puzzle, and you unlock the green lens. Now once you get back to the telescope, you have 2 options. You can either use the green lens to open the green door, or you can combine red and green to make yellow. The reason I like this level and the way they've designed it is because it kind of lets you play at your own pace, and it's very simple to understand as well. Because technically you can just beat the level by going red, yellow, purple. However, if you want, you can also use the blue gem, which is at the end of the yellow door, or you can mix the blue gem with green to awaken one of the sets of armor and fight them, which is pretty cool. One set of armor drops a bunch of items you can use, and the other reveals a corpse with a light magic gem on it, which is pretty neat. Or you can go through the green door and find the key in there, and then mix red, green, and yellow to make white, which leads you to a room with a corpse that has a shadow magic gem on it. It's pretty neat level design, honestly. Once you open the purple door, right at the end of the level, you run into that kid vampire again, and she makes you fight her giant dolls. Now, I don't know if it's me or the room or what, but I have really mixed feelings about this fight because it can be very annoying. Like, the dolls have heaps of health, there's 3 of them, and there's nowhere to move. Anyway, after you destroy all of the dolls, she just says fuck it and decides to start electrocuting you. However, the ghost of your dead wife shows up, and then the vampire kid is all like, man, I wish I could feel love, and just lets you go. And that's the end of Chapter 7. Chapter 8 begins with this level where you get to run across this really big chain to this really big part of the castle, which is honestly pretty cool. And then you enter the Clockwork Tower, which is basically just a level of pure platforming and trying not to fall off the platforms and die a bunch of times like I did. You also run into that Frankenstein baby monster again, and then you crush it in your hand, which I don't know why I found that really funny. I don't know, am I a bad person for finding that funny? Probably. Anyway, once you've ascended the clock tower, you then encounter this charming fellow called Olrox, who is the brother of Brauner, you know, the guy from Chapter 5. The first thing Olrox does is make a Lord of the Rings reference.
You shall not pass through here.
And then because Two Towers is clearly the best Lord of the Rings movie, the two of you fight. Now this is one of my favorite fights, because not only is it really fun, but you also have to reduce him to a quarter of his health 4 times, because each time he opens an Iron Maiden with a werewolf inside of it, and drains blood from it to heal himself. And what you're supposed to do when he does this each time is attack him, and then kill the werewolf. Did I mention you have to do this 4 times? Yeah, well, you do. Anyway, after killing Olrox, you spill his blood onto this little maze thing, just to prove to him that Two Towers is the best Lord of the Rings film. And then you need to do a puzzle with his blood to reach Carmilla. When you encounter Carmilla, she tries to flirt with Gabriel, But Gabriel is too Christian and rejects her. Carmilla then insults you and tells you that you will not be able to resurrect Marie, and then you fight her. In Carmilla's first phase, she just sends waves of vampire spawn at you and tries to zap you with lightning. It's actually pretty cool here that you can use her lightning to kill her own vampire spawn. Once you kill enough vampires, you then get to enter Carmilla's second phase, where she turns into a giant vampire and fights you like that. Carmilla like this is pretty difficult, and it makes it especially difficult when she summons other vampire spawn to help her. But I was able to turn this fight around pretty easily using the techniques I learned in pimp school.
Bang out the machete, boom in her face.
She tries to shoot you with lightning, but you absorb it with your gauntlet and use it to destroy her force field. You then stab her with the hook of your whip, impale her on a spike, and she's still alive, and only dies when you stab her with the stake of your whip and break it off. After Carmilla dies, you then get wings fused to you, and you can then claim the second third of the God Mask. Then Pan shows up again, and Gabriel begins questioning his faith.
I now know that the founders of the Order created the Lords of Shadow. They are one and the same. They ascended into heaven as pure spirits, but left behind their dark sides. Why are we paying the price for their arrogance and stupidity? Tell me, what am I fighting for?
Only when we look inside ourselves can we truly begin to understand. How far are you prepared to go to uncover the truth?
And with that, Pan sends you through this portal, ending Chapter 8. Chapter 9 begins where you enter a withered forest. It's here that the game tells you how to use the Seraph Shoulders, being the wings from Carmilla, which is basically just a double jump. What makes the Seraph Shoulders even better is when you combine it with Cornell's boots, which allows you to cover a lot of distance, which is actually something this level utilizes. You know, honestly, this level is pretty good. I hope nothing comes along to fuck it. Ah, fuck! Did I mention I hate this little shit? Yeah, well, I do. Seriously, fuck this guy. Fuck him. I hope he dies in a high-speed car crash. Anyway, after hunting down this little shit and unfortunately not killing him the same way he fucking killed Carmilla, you then enter this village and enter this weird little hut. Inside the hut is the witch Baba Yaga, which Baba Yaga states that she has been expecting you.
Master told Baba you would come.
Who is your master?
The king, of course. The king of the angels.
Baba Yaga then offers to take you to the land of the dead if you help her retrieve the blue rose from inside the music box. But first, you need to take the 3 keys from the scarecrows. So you descend from Baba's hut and find the scarecrows and a bunch of posts that you can shake. One of the posts has a flock of crows on them. What you're supposed to do here, which I think is really cool, is shake the posts so that the crows land on the scarecrow's posts and awaken the scarecrows. You need to do this 3 times, 1 for each scarecrow. After killing the scarecrows and retrieving the keys, you can then return to Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga then shrinks you and puts you inside the music box. And inside the music box you find a green cylinder and then play music with it. And then you need to find the other cylinders to do the thing. And I really don't want to explain this level. All you need to know is that you find a bunch of cylinders, you play some music, and then you find a blue rose, and then Baba Yaga teleports you into Chapter 10. Chapter 10 begins with you appearing in a cave, and then climbing out of the cave into the Titan's graveyard. Which, although this area looks really cool, it pisses me right the fuck off. Mainly because it introduces you to these grave spider motherfuckers that are just really difficult to kill and really fucking annoying. And it makes you fight fucking 3 of them! Like, why would you do this to me? Also, the save points in this level are complete arse. Like, I die here, and I've gotta go all the way back here. Like, this place would have been a little bit more bearable if it at least had better save points. And you better not accidentally fall in the fog, because no matter where you land, you're fucked. Now, I like most of the levels in this game. However, this level, you could not fucking pay me to replay. Which to me is made even sadder by how cool the scenery of this level is. The next level is better though, because as you reach the fire pinnacle, you come face to face once again with my man, Pan, for the last time.
It appears that our paths cross once more.
But one path must end here.
Pan then uses magic to cover himself in a suit of armor, and then takes away your light and shadow magic. And now you have to fight Pan without any magic. Which this fight's actually pretty cool. Mainly because Pan's moveset is sort of similar to you. As well because about a quarter way through the fight, and after a quick time event, Pan decides to give you your light magic back. Which whenever you hit Pan with light magic, while he is also using light magic, he'll tell you Further through the fight, Pan also returns to you your shadow magic, and now you can fight him normally. It's here that Pan teaches you something that's going to become very useful later in the game. That you need to use the opposite form of magic to counter the opposite form of magic. Using the same one against the same one will just do nothing. After defeating Pan, Gabriel questions why this had to happen, and Pan reveals that his blood was needed to open the passage to the next area. And then Pan dies, and bleeds what looks like oil. So much oil that the US tries to take it. And then the giant bones in the background open, allowing you to progress to the next level. Which takes you through this bony canyon that leads you to the fire cemetery. And you do this really cool jump. In slow motion as well, which, not gonna lie, was actually pretty cool. And then this little shit shows up again and steals your items. Again! Seriously, fuck this guy, I fucking hate him. And now I have to solve another puzzle to get my items back. Again, fuck this guy. I'm going to pop a fucking blood vessel. I hope he has some beautiful children that die from fucking cancer. Okay, that was a little dark. Anyway, moving on. After you solve this gong puzzle, you then open the door to the crematory oven. Home of the Gravedigger. Why a Gravedigger lives in a place called the crematory oven? I have no fucking clue. Now first you need to fight 3 of these annoying coffin bastards, which I gave up on fighting in place of just using the dark crystal that I had to insta-kill them. And then you have to fight the actual boss, the Gravedigger, who looks menacing as hell. After beating the shit out of the Gravedigger, you then kill him by opening his own oven, using his own shovel to beat the shit out of him, and then knocking him into the oven, where he falls into fucking lava. However, the Gravedigger then uses tentacle hentai to try and pull you into the oven, but you manage to climb out of the oven, and then reach the Necromancer's Abyss. And Chapter 11. The first level of Chapter 11 has you entering the Necromancer's Abyss and solving some puzzles. Which, this one was just fucking tedious, like, holy shit. And after you climb further up the tower of the Necromancer's Abyss, you encounter a Necromancer, who is honestly just really fucking easy to kill. After you kill him, 2 portals open. You go through both portals to try and locate 3 buttons to open the door blocking your path, and the portal behind it. Once you do that, you encounter another Necromancer, who is slightly more difficult, and this time you destroy him with his own staff lightning. After ascending further up the tower, you encounter a 3rd Necromancer, who monologues to you about how you and he aren't that different. And then he summons a skeletal dragon, aka the Draco Lich. Yay! Time for another Titan fight. Fuck! Now the Draco Lich Titan was by far the most infuriating boss in the entire game. Because not only does it take the annoying aspects of the Titans, but it is annoying as fuck to try and figure out how to navigate this thing. And one mistimed jump can fuck everything up for you. Like, while the other Titans were annoying, at least they were kind of simple to understand. this was just pain. Anyway, after you kill the Dracolich and absorb energy from it, you break this crystal on the ground, which causes this tower to come up from the ground, or maybe we're just going down. I really can't tell. Oh no, the tower's going up. Okay. Then you whip onto the tower, and the tower takes you into Chapter 12. The final chapter, which is literally one level, and it begins with a 13-minute cutscene. Like, holy shit, that is fucking long for a cutscene. So let's try and break this down. As Gabriel reaches the top of the tower, you obtain the last piece of the God Mask, used to assemble the full God Mask, and finally meet up with Zobek, voiced by Patrick Stewart, who is holding a very familiar mask.
We can now end this, once and for all. Come.
Yes. Let's bring an end to this charade. Finally, it is time for the truth. Let us remove our masks.
And just like that, it is revealed that Zobek is in fact the Lord of the Necromancers, the third of the Lords of Shadow. Zobek reveals that it was he who cast the spell that separated Earth from the heavens, and formulated this large plan to use Gabriel to unite the three pieces of the God Mask after a visit into Hell, where a force that was vast and terrible entered him and expanded his knowledge of the dark arts. It was also revealed here that the gauntlet fused to your arm from the Black Knight is designed to kill you, and Zobek wanted you to take the gauntlet as a failsafe in case you should ever challenge him.
I needed your strength of will and courage to complete the quest, but I couldn't risk you becoming too powerful. I needed to control you at the end, once you had murdered them. I knew you would never be able to challenge me whilst wearing it.
No.
You have exceeded even my wildest expectations, killing and butchering your way to victory. There is a terrible darkness in you, my friend. Your burning desire to resurrect your darling Marie has blinded you to it. As you slept, I was able to influence you with this mask. But even I did not foresee the beast that lay within. It was all too easy to make you kill them. Your penchant for murder and death were insatiable.
Zobek also reveals the truth behind the death of Marie.
Yes, Gabriel, now you finally understand. It was you who murdered your wife.
No! You lie! Bastard!
Search your soul, Gabriel. You know it to be true. I was worried she would reveal my charade to you at the lake, but it seems she had a false hope that even a killer such as you could redeem himself and save the world. Even the child, Claudia, could see her own demise at your hands, and yet she also trusted in you to the bitter end.
And then after a total of 7 minutes and 50 seconds of dialogue, Zobek then uses the gauntlet to kill you and claim the God Mask. But the reward of Zobek's plan is very short-lived, as he's interrupted by a strange voice.
Hail, mighty Zobek.
Who's there? Who?
Don't you remember me? I came to you in the void. I granted you knowledge and power. Power that you could never have obtained on your own. Surely you haven't forgotten. In fact, I planted the idea for this whole elaborate ruse into your tiny mind in order to serve my own higher purpose. I no longer need your assistance.
And with that, Zobek catches fire and is presumably burned to death. And then Satan himself shows up and claims the God Mask, and prepares to wage war on heaven and God. Meanwhile, in the spirit world, Gabriel lies there motionless as the spirits try to claim him. However, Marie stops them and explains that they need to resurrect Gabriel, otherwise everything will go to shit. And so with that, Gabriel is resurrected. And as Gabriel is revived, Satan attempts to plead with him.
I was adored once above all others. I too didn't deserve to be cast out, abandoned. Now you know what that feels like, don't you? Hate can bring us back, give us strength, embrace it.
It is what is in men's hearts that he cares about. He loves you as he loves me. We have only to ask for forgiveness deep within ourselves and be welcomed back.
You monkeys don't deserve redemption.
Was that an evolution joke in a game about religion? Anyway, Gabriel refuses to join Satan, and with that, you get to fight the final boss of the game, Satan, the Lord of Hell himself. Now this battle is actually fucking awesome. Like, seriously, it's great. I love that it also utilizes what was learned earlier from Pan, with light and shadow magic countering each other. Yes, that was the purpose of that battle. And it honestly just goes nuts with that, with having shadow and light circles, enemies, and just fucking everything. It's honestly nuts. As the fight continues, you manage to smack Satan around a bit. He realizes that you have the power of the Lord God himself on your side, and that there is almost nothing he can do to beat you. Like, he even stabs you with his trident, and you just pull that shit out like nothing happened. And then you get to go absolutely apeshit fucking insane, just beating the shit out of Satan. Like, bro, this fight is actually just fucking epic. The fight ends with Gabriel putting Satan in a chokehold and asking God to forgive him of his sins. And like that, Gabriel is forgiven and Satan is sent back to hell. As the fight ends, Gabriel then sees Marie for one last time, and we get this dialogue.
Why has my life been given back to me?
It is your fate. You have been given back what was wrongfully taken from you. To repent your sins. To make amends.
But without you...
You freed them all. You saved us all, my Gabriel.
I couldn't save you.
I knew I could not tell you, or despair would have eroded your resolve and everything would have been lost.
And as Gabriel goes all emo on us, we get possibly one of the best lines of dialogue in the entire game from Marie.
I am not worthy of your faith. Your love. I am nothing.
You are a good man, Gabriel. You are as God intended. Fallible, yet capable of great things.
And then Gabriel picks up the mask.
The mask is a powerful device. It allows us to see through God's eyes.
Can it really bring the dead back?
Yes. Look.
And it turns out the mask is fucking useless. Marie then departs for heaven, and Gabriel must say his goodbyes to her before she leaves.
I love you, Marie. I love you. Forgive me.
And like that, Marie disappears, leaving Gabriel by himself. It is here that Gabriel also sees Claudia again before she ascends to heaven. And no words are spoken, just silence, and then Claudia disappears. Gabriel then begins crying, and honestly, at this point, I genuinely felt sorry for him. Like, imagine traveling for probably weeks, if not months, risking your entire life, saving the entire world, and defeating the literal Lord of Hell himself, Satan, in a battle, and still not getting the one thing that you desired. And with a shot of Zobek's mask, the game ends. And so does Chapter 12. Oh my god, this video was long. Despite the game's many flaws, the game still has a great story, fun combat, platforming, and awesome music. Did I mention the soundtrack is awesome? Yeah, well, it is. It's honestly a great game, and if you haven't played it already, what the fuck are you doing here? Go play it. It's currently on sale as well, and will be on sale until November 4th. So, you know, go pick it up. Anyway, that'll do it for today's video. I'm sorry I haven't uploaded that much recently. I've been very busy, and honestly I've been kind of confused about what kind of content I want to make, but I'd like to thank everyone who has stuck by the channel and continued to support the channel. It really does mean a lot. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of stuff. And until the next one... Wait, hold on. I feel like I forgot to talk about something in this video. Like, I feel like there's something I missed. Oh yeah. Fuck this motherfucker! I hope his entire family gets molested by a penguin.